There's been an ongoing flame war between Donald Trump and the far-left progressive Democrats. Initially, Nancy Pelosi started slamming Ocasio-Cortez and the other far-left Democrats, saying, don't tweet and things like that, because it was making them look bad. And it kind of did. Pelosi slammed them, saying all they have is their Twitter following, and in the end, they only get 4 votes. Donald Trump chimes in with this tweet, saying that they should go back to their countries, fix the problems they have there, then come back and tell us what worked. And all of a sudden, viral hashtags, people are calling the president racist, and then Nancy Pelosi comes out in defense of the far left. Now, my initial reaction was, oh my God, Trump, you couldn't just let the Democrats tear each other apart, but this was, in my opinion, on purpose. I believe now we can safely say it is a majority opinion, dare I say it, a near confirmation of Trump playing 4D chess. For those that aren't familiar, the concept of 4D chess, it's a meme that means Trump is doing these things for a reason. He's not simply an idiot tweeting idiotic things. There is an end goal. Now, I fell for it. The first thing I did was I tweeted out condemnation of Trump's tweet saying, oh my God, Trump, what are you doing? This is a stupid tweet, etc. Not realizing the long con. But don't take my word for it. The update we have now is that Vox.com, Ezra Klein, the founder, prominent leftist, agrees with this story, Trump versus the squad. But here's the best part. Now, Ezra Klein has written up this big narrative saying this is why Trump is tweeting these things. He is forcing the Democrats to prop up these women front and center because a poll recently showed that swing voters do not like them. He wants to make sure the Democrats put them on a pedestal. But I will tell you this now. There's more to the 4D chess. So here's the thing. It's 4D chess because there's actually, it's one dimension above, right? You've got like multiple layers, but here's the thing. Ezra Klein still can't see what's happening. You might think Trump was intending to force the Democrats to prop up the far left to make them look bad, but I assure you, I will show you evidence to suggest Trump is even playing a longer con here that I find rather shocking. And I've already showed you what that long con is. I kid you not. It's going to be a great bit of suspense because I will reveal to you how you have overlooked the real issue that what Trump is actually doing. It's already in this video. When you see it later on, you are going to go, oh my God, Trump, he has played these people like a fool. Even Ezra Klein, who thinks he can see what Trump is doing, has been played for a fool. So let's read a little bit about what Ezra Klein has to say before we get started. Head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's a PayPal option, a crypto option, and a physical address. But of course, the best thing you can do, share this video because YouTube is deranking independent commentary, and I rely on you to get the message out if you think my content is worth being heard. Let's see what Ezra Klein writes. He says, Trump versus the squad. Trump reunited the Democrats to further his narrative. Over the past few days, Trump waded into the spat between Nancy Pelosi and Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, and Rashida Tlaib, the squad. The fight between the Democratic leadership and the group of progressives was getting out of hand with accusations of racism and increasing inflammatory sniping from anonymous aides. Trump, in a blaze of tweets, neatly united the Democrats at a moment when their divisions threatened to deepen its schisms. Now, instead of fighting with each other, House Democrats are voting to censure the president for racist remarks. Perhaps Pelosi owes him a gift basket. But wait. They write, Ezra writes, in unifying House Democrats against him, Trump unified them around the squad and raised their profile. The 4 women are getting even more coverage this week than they were last week, exactly what Pelosi was trying to avoid and exactly what conservative media has been trying to achieve. Ezra Klein coming out with the 4D chess confirmation. They were trying to stop AOC from tweeting and being front and center, and Trump just forced them to prop them up. Now, when I heard that, I realized I was wrong. And I made a video the other day. Trump played the media like a fiddle. But I assure you, there is more to this story. Trump is even one step ahead of this narrative. I kid you not. When I started reading this story, okay, true, this is legit. I immediately sat back when I realized what he was doing, and I just went, oh my God. And I got up and I ran into the other room and I immediately started talking to other people like, look at this. And they all just started laughing. Ezra Klein thinks he's uncovered the true motive behind Trump's tweets, but he hasn't. Trump has even played Ezra Klein for a fool. I said that, but let's read, because I know you're all just waiting to figure out what he did. Those on the podcast, I'm sorry, you can't see what's happening. But for those that are watching this video, I will stress, I have already showed you the trick that Trump has successfully pulled off. And you are going to see it. And when you do, my God, the suspense. I hope you're sitting in suspense right now. Let's read, because the context really is important. I apologize. But I have to give you the context before I reveal Trump's true motive, at least my opinion of his true motive. Ezra writes, there are two ways of thinking about this outcome. One cuts American politics into the traditional Republican-Democrat divide. In this telling, Pelosi and the Democrats are Trump's foremost antagonists. And in bridging their divides, he weakened himself. The other views American politics through the lens of demographic change and the white identity politics it triggers. In this view, by uniting Democrats in defense of the squad and against his racist attacks, Trump rescued a narrative crucial to his political appeal and the reactionary politics he represents. He says, let's back up. The controversy started with a series of calculated comments by Pelosi. We know this. I kind of brought it up already. Trump then unifies them. We get it. But check this out. He says that in February, Media Matters analyzed Fox News coverage and found that Ocasio-Cortez, then a brand new member of the House, received 4 times the mentions of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. In a separate study, they found Fox News mentioned AOC more than 3,000 times in a 6-week span. Watch this supercut. It's dizzying. Now let me chime in on this. My initial reaction to AOC's win was positive. I praised her. The video still exists on my second channel. She has gone on to show herself to be narcissistic, egotistical, and just downright mean and a gaffe queen. So I have criticized her. But I want to stress, while you can point out, it is true, AOC derangement syndrome does exist, okay? There are people who will criticize her even for the good things. So I have praised AOC for wanting to end private prisons. Completely agree. I praised her when she said she would team up with Ted Cruz to end the lobbying pipeline. So credit where credit is due. I don't criticize or hate people. Well, I don't really hate a lot of people, but I don't criticize people for the sake of criticizing them. I do it when they're worth being criticized, and I will praise them if they do it right. That includes Trump. That includes AOC. But yes, many outlets are just always outraged by her. But I want to make sure I stress, it's not Fox News. Look at all media. Everyone was talking about her. So it's not like conservatives immediately latched onto her to try and smear the Democrats. That's what Ezra's kind of trying to imply. I don't know. Maybe he outright says it. But what was happening is the media was propping her up. So there was a response from the right to tear her down. That's just how the media works. The same is true for Trump. Let's read on. There's a reason conservative media focuses relentlessly on AOC, and to a lesser but still disproportionate extent, Tlaib and Omar. Vilifying non-white female members of Congress electrifies their audience is a way that vilifying, say, Rep. Richard Neal, the powerful but bland chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, does not. The strategy of Fox News and much of the conservative media is to activate white threat in a Browning America. That is conspiracy theory nonsense from left-wing identitarians who can only see race. Plain and simple. Because when you realize there are very prominent non-white conservatives who say the same things like Candace Owens, you realize the narrative doesn't quite make sense. But of course, they will call Candace a grifter, and to a certain extent, she is worthy of criticism. I totally disagree with her flag-burning stance. But you have to understand, there are gay, black, non-white, minority, Asian conservatives. It is not just a bunch of white people. It is a lot of white people, don't get me wrong. But it is not all white people. So the narrative doesn't make sense. Why is it that a conservative, non-white individual will criticize AOC then? If you think it's about white identity politics in a Browning America, that makes no sense. But we've heard the identitarian narrative from people like Ezra and his ilk that it's internalized racism and misogyny and whatever nonsense. Well, I disagree. I think it's much more simpler than that. We don't need conspiracies, Ezra. We don't need you to create a conspiracy theory about the white lash and the fear from white people. I certainly understand that exists. The alt-right is a thing. But the reality is much simpler. When Time Magazine puts AOC on the cover, then people are going to challenge the idea that she's some perfect candidate because she's a gaffe queen. First of all, I qualify as non-white, and I will criticize her, so no, I have no concern about the expansion of mixed race mixing in this country. In fact, I enjoy it. I'm very proud of my mixed race family and what they fought for in this country, so let me just push back on your conspiracy theory for a moment and point out there is real principled opposition to what these people are doing. Ocasio-Cortez is a gaffe queen who claims things like a $21 trillion accounting error could pay 60% of healthcare. That makes no sense. She chased away, or at least helped to, led the charge in many respects, to end Amazon coming into New York, something that even de Blasio wanted. So yes, there is real reasons to criticize her outside of this idea that she's a Latina. That's absurd. I certainly don't care. I grew up in a Hispanic neighborhood to a mixed race family. Don't discredit my concerns over her nonsense. And absolutely, I opened this video by mentioning I criticized Trump from the get-go. Please, take your conspiracies elsewhere and get to the heart of the argument. Here it is. Let's jump to the heart of his argument. He says, this is the context not just for Pelosi's comments, but for the weird poll that Democratic officials apparently leaked to Axios to emphasize the damage Ocasio-Cortez was supposedly doing to the party. The poll was of non-college educated white men, and the post-publication controversy has swirled around whether it's appropriate to call this group, which went heavily for Trump, swing voters. But more telling was the framing of the poll by whoever leaked it. The Axios headline read, AOC defining Dems in swing states, even though the results didn't include any data to that effect. What the poll did show was that 74% of the respondents knew of AOC and 53% knew of Omar. How many other House Democrats have that kind of name recognition? And that's it. Ezra Klein ends there without giving you the full context of why Trump is doing this. He says, if all voters hear about his AOC, it could put the House majority at risk. An anonymous top Democrat told Axios. She's getting all the news and defining everyone else's races. Ezra Klein conveniently left out half of that poll. I kid you not. He actually had to snip the end of one poll and then duct tape two together to give you this point. All it shows is people know who they are. That's not true. I have the poll right here. You want to know what it does show? It shows that while 74% of people recognize AOC, only 22% have a favorable view. And while 53% recognize Omar, only 9%. Not a typo, they write, had a favorable view. Why, Ezra Klein, did you omit the second half of the data point? Axios didn't quantify this by recognition. They literally quantified the AOC point by recognition to favorability for both candidates. But of course, Ezra Klein didn't include that. He also didn't include socialism is toxic to these voters. So why did Trump just force the Democrats to prop up in a press conference these women? Because he wants to make sure that's what America sees, so they reject it. Now I want to do something special. I want to reveal to you, now that you have the full context, what I believe to be the true intentions of what may be second-level fourth-dimensional chess. While it's true, Trump's tweets did put the media back on track to criticize him, put him in the spotlight, while making these foreign the Democrats, like Ezra Klein contends. I showed you something in the beginning of this video, which I believe is the true reason that Trump tweeted. Now, it's two birds with one stone, but let's go back to the homepage. And I want to ask you now, for those on the podcast, you can't see this, so I apologize, but for those on YouTube, take a look at this front page, and do you notice something? First, what's front and center as Vox's top story? The biggest image you can see is the squad, the progressive Democrats, for one, doing exactly what Trump wanted based on Ezra Klein's own opinion. But now take a look at the bottom left of the screen, right next to my beautiful face. The Trump administration is dramatically restricting who can seek asylum. The new regulation will force those traveling to the U.S. southern border to seek asylum protections in another country first, though the rule is likely to be quickly challenged in court. And there it is. Two birds with one stone. Vox was played for a fool. They are here talking about a flame war. Why should anyone care that Trump and these four women are bickering at each other on the internet when Trump just instituted a policy that will end asylum for Central American migrants and many other, basically every country that would have to pass through another country to come here? Let's say you're an African migrant. You got to fly to London Or Spain before you can fly to New York. You stopped in a third country, no asylum for you. Trump has done this repeatedly. They know he does this. So let me say this. First, we have Ezra Klein saying straight up, Trump is playing a game here. He's trying to force people to look at these women. And then not only does Ezra Klein on Vox put this big old photo of the squad doing exactly what he claims Trump wanted, I think we can see the true motive. He then relegates the true big major breaking news story to the bottom left section. At least it made the front page. On other sites, it didn't. Barely anyone was talking about it. And I was shocked. This is a huge story. Trump just said no to asylum to all of these migrant caravans. Why isn't this front and center? They want to call Trump a racist? Fine. Bring up the asylum story, right? Nope. It doesn't happen. Why? Because Trump has gone through a string of tweets. Now, here's the thing. Here's why I believe we can see Trump's true second-degree four-dimensional chess beyond what Ezra Klein says. If Trump wanted to make sure that all we did was see these four women, he need but one tweet. In that one tweet about these women going to their, back to their countries, even though they're all American citizens, just with that alone, he shifted the narrative. Why is it then that Trump keeps tweeting? So sad to see Democrats sticking up for these people. So this is, then he has, the Dems were trying to distance themselves. So this is funny. Watch. Donald Trump tweets on the 14th. So sad to see the Democrats sticking up for people who speak so badly of our country. Calling Nancy Pelosi racist, etc. This was him seemingly into the narrative of propping up AOC and others. Then Trump tweets this. The Dems were trying to distance themselves from the four progressives, but now they are forced to embrace them. That means they are endorsing socialism, hate of Israel and the USA, not good for Democrats. When I saw this the other day, I went, wait a minute. Trump wouldn't just come out and reveal his trick. That makes no sense, unless it wasn't Trump's trick. Now again, the only reason I'm saying this is likely, my opinion, is because Ezra Klein himself has stepped up and said Trump did this on purpose. But when I saw this tweet, it made me think Trump is trying to make sure this is the narrative. He wants the narrative to be this. Why? Why is he tweeting over and over again over several days? Even today, look what he says. The Democratic congressmen have been spewing some of the most vile, hateful, and disgusting things ever said by a politician. Today, this morning, Trump won't stop tweeting about it. He's already gotten them to circle the wagons around the far left. Why would he need to keep the media preoccupied? It's very simple. The administration is seeking to end asylum for Central Americans and many other migrants that would pass through a third country. I covered this story on my channel because I'm not insane. I saw this story and said, this is possibly the biggest story. Where was Vox? Oh, don't worry. They got a little blurb here on the bottom left. My God. This is the tweet. Trump is coming out and saying he's doing this on purpose. And that got Ezra Klein to then write the story about it. Saying, aha, there it is. Trump confirmed it. I believe even Scott Adams tweeted checkmate in response to this tweet from Trump. But it made me think, why would Trump then say he's doing it? And I started thinking this. Maybe he wasn't really trying to do it. Maybe he just made a dumb tweet and this was him trying to save face. But then I thought about this. He needed only the one tweet to accomplish that goal. So he's tweeting over a longer period of time because he's doing, I mentioned this yesterday on my other channel, he's dangling his hand over here with these silly tweets and the media is obsessed. And over here, he's signing legislation to say no asylum for those from Central America. It's allowing him to pass as much, to get as much time passed in this news cycle so that eventually people will completely forget he just made this change. When Trump did the moratorium on travel from the 7 nations, there was a wave of protesters. ACLU came out, and with all of the media attention, he was challenged relentlessly. By doing what he's doing now with this string of tweets, he has effectively distracted everyone. And did Nancy Pelosi come out and say, we will seek to stop this? Well, perhaps. I don't want to act like she didn't, but I can say this. The narrative isn't there. The story we're seeing is that Nancy Pelosi wants to censure Donald Trump and condemn his xenophobic tweets. Trump has done it again. He does it all the time. It's mind-blowing to me that he does this so much, and they just don't see it. And now we have it front and center. Vox.com. Big ol' story right here. Look at this. Look how big, and then there, little bottom corner, the real policy move. the real change to this country, the real change to the border debate, and they don't care. Now, here's what I said in my video yesterday. I know this is a bit derivative of the video I did yesterday. It was Trump played the media like a fiddle, but I feel like this is a bit of the confirmation, seeing that even Vox has relegated this massive, major breaking story to the bottom little left blurb. I mean, again, it is the front page, so I'll take it. It's better than nothing. But look what they're talking about. Trump's done it. He's convinced them to cover some nonsense that has zero impact on this nation's policies. They're gonna condemn him for saying mean words, and they're gonna call him a mean word back. But you know what I think this reveals? As I stated in my video yesterday, Vox, the Democrats, they don't care about refugees or asylum. They care about a narrative that gets them elected. Trump gave it to them. Trump gave them what they needed to say, we're not the bigots, he is. He knew exactly what they wanted. He fed it to him, and it allowed him to make a real policy change. So here's what I'll say. Ezra Klein believes Trump's tweets were strategic, period. But I think he fails to realize why, like what the true goal was. So the final thought, to reiterate, this string of tweets over the past several days continually keeps the media distracted and gets the House Democrats to then challenge Trump and ignore this major policy change. Is Trump playing 4D chess? Well, I certainly still don't want to say yes. I'm being a bit facetious when I say confirmed. But I gotta admit, when even Ezra Klein claims that his initial tweets were meant to distract and to rally support for the squad, that on its own shows that Trump is being strategic, and even Ezra Klein and the left thinks he's doing it on purpose. I mentioned before, David Pakman even said, don't take the bait. He's trying to distract you. And they did. And they will. Because again, final thought, they don't care about anything other than what's the most valuable thing to latch onto. They could come out and say Donald Trump changing the asylum rules is xenophobic and racist. But guess what's more important? Trump saying a naughty word. Think about it. They could just as easily say everything they're saying about his asylum change, but they don't. Because they'd rather just hop on their high horse. The far left Democrats love the press. They love the attention. They're narcissistic egotists, and they love it. So they'll take it. They would rather the story be about them than the migrants. And don't you forget it. And that should be your final takeaway. Stick around. Next segments will be coming up, youtube.com/TimCastNews, starting at 6 p.m. for those on the podcast. The order's a little different. But let me know what you think in the comments below or leave a review, and I will see you all in the next story.